was in trouble. Newton running. Newton gets to the corner. Cam down the sideline. Cam Newton. Hesitation. Still on his feet. Cam Newton. Touchdown, Carolina. What a play. Superman. Rodgers steps up. Buying time. Keeps it alive and touchdown to Randall Cobb. What an amazing play by Aaron Rodgers. And the Packers regain the lead.
Spread the defense. On 2nd and 7. Middle's open. Touchdown. Benjamin Watson.
2nd and 9. Brady throws. Caught. LaFell. Touchdown.
All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the second episode of The Fantasy Life. My name's the Big AC, as always, as you can see right there, aka 401 Crew on DraftKings. Today, we're going to be talking about a little quarterback rankings. And I know it's the most important position in fantasy football in regards to everyone always wants that number one QB. I'm going to be talking about a couple I like, a couple I don't like, and we're going to separate them into about 4 tiers. First and foremost, I do want to say in regular one quarterback leagues, even if it's a 6-point throwing touchdown league, I tend to wait on the quarterback, and that's just something I personally do. I like to wait. I feel like it's better to not get that quarterback in that 2nd, 3rd round. It's better to just maybe wait for like the 7th or 8th round to get that quarterback. In this year, however, I'm telling a lot of people this. I wouldn't necessarily aim for a round to get a draft. I would just want to aim to either get the 7th, 8th, or 9th quarterback off the draft. I'm going to talk a little bit more into that when we get into it, because a lot of times people will ask me, hey, what round are you targeting your quarterback? This year, I really think that's a bad way to view things. I think you should follow the board, follow what other teams are doing. This year, I really believe there are about 9, 10 quarterbacks that are pretty safe, solid quarterbacks to be your quarterback one. If you can get any of those, a couple in particular that I'm going to talk about, I think you're going to be just all right. So when you're targeting your quarterback, I personally would want to be the 7th, 8th, or 9th quarterback off the board. You don't want to be one of the first, in my opinion, and you definitely don't want to be one of the last. But first and foremost, let's talk about a couple of quarterbacks I like and a couple of quarterbacks I don't like. And we're going to start off with a couple I'm avoiding this year. Number 1 on my list, Russell Wilson. We're actually going to point over here. Russell Wilson is first on my list. Not liking Russell Wilson this year. And it's not that I don't like him. It's not that I think he's going to do bad. It's just people are going to expect last year's numbers where he's going as like in the top 5, as sometimes the 4th quarterback off the board, 5th, 6th. That's just way too early for me, in my opinion. And I'll tell you why. Rushing quarterbacks are dangerous to begin with. Not all quarterbacks are built like Cam Newton. I mean, look at Colin Kaepernick last year. Look at RG3. Everyone was looking at them, looking to repeat their numbers. And to be frank, rushing quarterbacks just don't usually repeat. It was even tough for Michael Vick. There's only a couple of Cam Newton and Michael Vicks in the world. I just don't think Russell Wilson is one of them. Seahawks were pretty much dead last in the NFL in passing attempts this year. And people magically think that Jimmy Graham is just going to come in and solve all of this. He isn't, folks, all right? Jimmy Graham isn't the magic solution. Yeah, they got him for a reason, but I just don't think all of a sudden the touchdowns are just going to skyrocket for Russell Wilson. Let's put it this way. If Russell Wilson repeats what he did on the ground, he'll be the first quarterback in history to do so. 600 on the ground is not a realistic repeat on what he can do. He definitely got a couple touchdowns. You could expect the rushing yards, but just 600 yards, that's all. That's why fantasy fans are loving this guy this year. They think he's just going to be a monster on the ground, and I just don't think that's realistic at all. He is a small guy. Beware of the rushing quarterback. Where he's going as the 4th, 5th, 6th quarterback off the board, no, thank you. Not for me. He won't be my quarterback this year. Neither, in my opinion, will be Ben Roethlisberger, unless he falls down in some of these rankings. he's going really early. He seems to go either right before or right after Russell Wilson in every single draft I do. And this is a guy I'm really dead set on not getting this year early, and I'll tell you why. The guy had 29 touchdowns last year. Not bad. Pretty good, right? Expect when I tell you this. 12 of them happened in 2 games. Sorry, so let's take away those 2 games, and for argument's sake, let's take away the worst 2 games of him to even it out. If you did that, you take away his best 2 games and his worst 2 games. He had 16 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. And that's a quarterback going 5th off the board, 4th, 5th, 6th off the board. No, thank you. Not for me. I'm not drafting this guy. The guy only had, in 4-point throwing touchdown leagues, he only had 20 points. After you take away those 2 games, he only had more than 20 points 3 times. That is it. This is not a model of consistency. This is not a guy you want. 30% of his production came in just 2 games. How can you get a guy and base his future success based on that? In my opinion, it's just not for me. He's ranked significantly lower than where most people have him ranked. I'm not drafting him this year. Guys, I am targeting this year, though. Guys, I do like the NFC South guys. Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton. I have them 4, 5, and 6 in my rankings. And I'll tell you why. I'm not a big fan of overlooking into schedule. But this, in my opinion, this one is just something you cannot ignore. They face the NFC South team. Every quarterback that I just mentioned faces the NFC South a total of 6 times. 3 times. We're talking about the Bucks, the Saints, the Falcons, and the Panthers, okay? Those 4 defenses right there were in the bottom 11 in defensive points allowed in the NFL last year. The Panthers were 11th, Bucks were 9th, Saints were 8th, and the Falcons were 7th worst, okay? All in the bottom 11 of the NFL points allowed. The NFC South this year also faces the NFC East this year. The NFC East consisted of 4 teams in the bottom 13 in points allowed this year. Eagles 13th worst, Cowboys 10th worst, Giants 5th worst, and the Redskins dead last in points allowed. So right there we're talking about 7 teams that these NFC South quarterbacks will face that were in the bottom half of defensive. They also face the AFC South. AFC South consists of the Colts, the Titans, the Jaguars, and the Texans. The Texans, yes, were a very good defense, but the Colts were 14th in points allowed, 14th to last in points allowed. Jaguars, 6th worst. Titans, 3rd worst. So just to put that into perspective, that's 13 games that these quarterbacks are facing in this season when they're facing a defense that was a 14th worst defense or worse this year. So they get to face 14 really bad defensive teams this year. That's why I'm targeting Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, and Cam Newton in all my leagues this year. They're also pretty darn consistent. Matt Ryan, in my opinion, has probably the most talented receiver in football in Julio Jones. If he could stay on the field, expect big things from Matt Ryan. Drew Brees is just a model of consistency. The guy does it every single year by hook or crook. He seems to just get it done. And Cam Newton, yeah, he just lost a huge weapon in Kelvin Benjamin, but the guy gets it done on his feet. He's built like a freaking linebacker. He got hit by a car. He got in a car accident and he still is out on the field. The guy's just an absolute machine and juggernaut. He's one of those guys that's just going to get his numbers no matter what. So I'm really liking those 3 quarterbacks. Even the rookie Jameis Winston in 2 quarterbacks leagues. I'm throwing out the Bucks rookie out there. He's a guy I really think that could do a lot of big things this year. Definitely worth a late round flyer or someone I would target in my 2 quarterbacks leagues. All right, let's talk about tiers now. A lot of people ask for rankings in quarterbacks this year. I like to do it in tiers, and we're going to start with the obvious one. Tier number 1, as you can see, Andrew Luck, Aaron Rodgers. The I 1-2, you can flip-flop them any way you want. I have Luck slightly above Rodgers. He seems to be getting bigger and better every single year. These guys just seem to not end up on any of my rosters because I want to get them in maybe middle of round 3, late round 3, early round 4, and they seem to be going middle second round, or the latest early third round. So in your one quarterback leagues, Andrew Luck, Aaron Rodgers are definitely your 1-2, and they're going to go early. So if you want them, go with them early. I would never really throw you under the bus if you drafted these guys early, but in my opinion, they're just going way too early. But these are definitely my 1-2. After this, as you can see, I got Peyton Manning and Drew Brees in my tier 2 alone. They're just under my tier 1, in my opinion, especially this Peyton Manning guy. Don't forget, the guy threw 50 touchdown passes not too long, like 2 years ago. Just because he had an offseason, he was banged up, he wasn't 100%. I think if you can get this guy where he's going at the end of round 4, early round 5, it's an absolute steal. Loving Peyton Manning this year a lot. I'm also loving Drew Brees, as I just told you, NFC South quarterback. The guy gets it done every year. He has an awesome connection with Brandon Cooks this year. Well, I'm also targeting in a lot of leagues. Drew Brees, Peyton Manning are going to have monster years this year. So I'm loving these guys where they're going, especially. End of round 4, early round 5. I feel like if you can get them around there, you're golden. If you don't get them around there, I suggest waiting for my tier 3 quarterbacks on the top of my list. Matty Ryan from Boston College. This guy is going late in drafts. I've seen him go late round 8, early round 9. I'm not waiting for Matt Ryan. If I see him in round 7, I'm going for him. That seems to be around my target round. I'm looking for Matt Ryan. I drafted him, I believe, as early as round 7. First pick of round 7 in some of my drafts. I'm looking for Matt Ryan this year. Again, NFC South quarterback. After that, Cam Newton. Same thing there. The guy's just a monster. Tom Brady. Kind of controversial putting him above some of these other guys, but I think this guy is just going to come out on the field and set the world on fire. I think if you can get him, even given that it could be a 4-game suspension, could be reduced, I'm loving Tom Brady this year. I think if you get him and maybe a later quarterback that I'm going to mention, I think you could be really good there. After that, Tony Romo. The guy starts off slow, but he is Mr. November. Come playoff time in your fantasy championships, you're going to remember Romo. I was on the unfortunate end of Tony Romo's warpath in the fantasy championships, so I know all about Tony Romo. Definitely a guy you would love to stash on your roster for that late push. And the two guys I'm talking about that I feel like go really, really early, Big Ben, Russell Wilson, they're still going to make my tier 3. I mean, they just have they do have offensive weapons with them. So, but again, a lot of people have them. Some of them have ranked above Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, which I think is just ludicrous. So, at the bottom of tier 3, I have these guys. I doubt you'll see them there after all these in the rounds that I'm targeting these guys. They're going to go early. So. It's not really too important there where I have them ranked. Last but not least are these tier 4 guys. And the guy on top of my tier 4 list, Matty Stafford. This guy is plummeting in drafts. I mean, this guy was a monster a couple years ago. And without a healthy Megatron, Calvin Johnson, this guy really can't do that much. But I think this year, if he has a healthy Joique Bell, this new guy, Amir Abdullah, could just be the absolute spark he needs. It doesn't matter if he dumps a dump pass to his running back and he takes it to the house, or if it's an 80-yard bomb to Megatron. Stafford still gets the same amount of points, people. So just ask Drew Brees. He made a living out of it. Matt Stafford, I think, if you're going to win at quarterback, where this guy is going, I've seen him go like round 11, round 10, which is just ludicrous in my mind. Matt Stafford, I'm loving. Guy that a lot of people have higher this year, and I don't necessarily have him high as some people, Ryan Tannehill. I think he's a absolute bottom quarterback 1. I'd prefer to have him as a quarterback 2 in my leagues, but Ryan Tannehill just not feeling the love. Same thing with Eli Manning. People are just obsessed with the Odell Beckham train. It doesn't matter what Eli throws, Odell Beckham will catch it. I think there's a certain truth to that, yes, but I think Eli just throws way too many interceptions, and I'm just not feeling Eli Manning. After that, Phillip Rivers, Sam Bradford, not too much upside with these guys. Maybe Sam Bradford a little bit more than Rivers, in that he's in that explosive Philly offense, but these are, again, guys, high-end QB2s in my opinion. Some guys that I'm targeting, if I did go the Tom Brady route, if I got Tom Brady in, say, round 8, round 9, some of these guys that I'm about to mention I am targeting. First on this list is Teddy Bridgewater from Minnesota. Second-year guy. Guy had a touchdown in every single one of the games he started at the end of the season. He's just a guy. He's a good leader. People rally up behind him. He's just not going to throw up those stinkers that, say, like a Colin Kaepernick, Robert Griffin III is going to put up. So, like Teddy Bridgewater as my QB2, especially if you have that Tom Brady as your QB1. Joe Flacco, here's a guy who just seems to have those random, sporadic, great games. If you want to go matchup to matchup, I love having Joe Flacco on my team. He's just, again, a consistent quarterback, seems to get it done every single year. Not explosive. He sometimes has that random great game, but Flacco, I like him definitely as my QB2 this year. At the bottom of this list, if you want to take a gamble with huge upside, Jameis Winston could be your guy this year. Again, NFC South quarterback, great schedule, plays 14 awful defenses. I'm targeting Jameis Winston as my QB2 in a lot of leagues. If in 2 QB leagues, I definitely like him as my QB2 in all 2 QB leagues. This is definitely a guy I want, and he's going dirt cheap, not even drafted in some leagues I'm in. Last on this tier, and this is just the absolute bottom of the bottom of quarterbacks I would personally roster, the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton. You got A.J. Green on your team. You can't be too awful. Again, this is a guy who's either the Red Rifle or the redheaded stepchild. He has all the weapons to be great, and he just isn't sometimes. Maybe the presence of a healthy Jeremy Hill and Gio Bernard will help him out, but until I see something, Andy Dalton's last on my list. And if you do not see quarterback on your roster that is not on my list, you probably shouldn't have them on your roster, just to be honest. You're probably not doing too well. That's going to conclude this episode of The Fantasy Life. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Again, please leave comments below underneath. Appreciate it. I've already got a couple of questions. My next video will be a running back episode. Going to be doing the same exact thing. Talking about running backs. I'm targeting running backs I'm avoiding, and I'm going to separate them in the tiers as well. Thanks for watching again. We're going to be talking a little bit more about the daily stuff once we get closer to the kickoff. But until then, I'm the Big AC. Good luck on Fantasy